Hello again, here we are moving right along from Emerald to Ruby, and let's jump right in. Going over all the cards in the first expansion there for Disney Lorcana, and we're on to Ruby, the fourth color in the 6 colors that there are, and let's start off with the heater. Taka, the burning one, reckless, 8 strength, 6 willpower, reckless, so it can't quest, doesn't have any lore anyway, and must challenge if able. Uninkable, so not really thrilling to start off with something that can't really win you the game, but it can hopefully kind of keep things in check. I think it being uninkable makes it a little bit out of play. You know, really situational card there, and 6 isn't the most in the world. It does just kind of sit there as a way to just kill basically anything, so it's okay. Giving it 3 stars, it's not going to see a ton of play. 2.5 stars really. It's okay what it does, but it's not really something I think that the game's going to be about after too long. But next up we have Peter Pan, Fearless Fighter. So 3 cost uninkable for some reason. 3 strength, 2 willpower, and 1 lore. So Rush can challenge the turn they're played. It's okay. 2 willpower on a challenger on a Rush card that's going to challenge a bunch is not really where I want to be. I'm not touching this card. I'm two stars to 1 star. It's sad. Pan is not doing his thing. So yeah, I'm off it pretty quick. Next up we have Moana, Chosen by the Ocean. So this is not the Moana I was previously referring to over and over again. That's the Amethyst one. When you play this character, banish a chosen character named Taka. So very story driven card. Not necessarily the best constructed card, but hey, if it comes up, it comes up. And I was thinking that when I saw this card, there's going to be some kind of Taka card that was good for you to banish yourself, but there isn't. So not really sure what this is for, other than being pretty thematic. 2 stars, gonna pass. Doesn't quest for a lot. Has some willpower, but not really something to look at. So scrolling on down. Now we have Maui, Hero to All. That's right, Hero to All. Now, Rush, Reckless. All right, so we have an upgrade from the Taka we just saw, which was just Reckless. Rush means it can come down immediately, and it's inkable and costs 1 less. Now, 6/5 is enough to really, kill just about the same things as an 8/6 and survive almost the same amount as well. But this card being inkable is a huge kind of variation of way of looking at the card. You can play more copies of this card and always have it for when it's really good. And if you need it to be a resource, you can. I'm giving this 3.5 stars. It's going to kill a lot of princesses and a lot of other villains as well, of course. But definitely a strong card. Something to kind of curve top. While it can't win you the game, it can certainly stop your opponent from winning the game. So I'm a fan. Definitely gonna play this in a lot of my Ruby decks. It's not really the top end finisher, but something that'll really help control the board if this thing's getting out of hand. And Rush definitely helps you along with that. Next up, we have Shield of Virtue. So 1 cost item, all right. It's inkable, so that's already it's something for it. 3 cost and tap. Ready the chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So I'm not sure how to evaluate this one exactly. It's a very interesting card. It does cost quite a bit of resources to just essentially ready your character. I'm not sold on this being very good, but it's definitely interesting for what it could mean for cards that have certain effects that are just exhaust effects, things that tap to do something. Getting to use it the second time could be really good. Giving this a 2, we haven't seen too many things that really have some abilities to want to use over for this much of a cost, but it could be played. All right, following that up, we have Stitch, Abomination. He's also cute and fluffy. But we have a 4/6 for 6, inkable. Lures for 3. It's pretty large. It's not really something I'm thrilled about. Most cards are going to have to be beyond vanilla for me to really feel very good about them. And the Amber 6 cost with Shift 4 just as while it's -1/-1 on the stats, way better effects and can come down a lot sooner. So this one, I give it a 2 star. I love Stitch. He's my favorite, but it does quest for a lot. So that's its only saving grace, but it's not really something I'm looking forward to playing a bunch of. All right, Captain, Colonel's Lieutenant from 101 Dalmatians there. 5 cost, 6/5. So comparing this directly to Maui, it can quest for 1, but it doesn't have Rush and Reckless. So I'm not playing this card. Any instance where I play Maui, I'd probably play this. Any instance where I play this card, I'd probably play Maui over instead. So I'm gonna pass. Sword of Truth. So if this card was inkable, it'd be one of the best cards I think in the game, and make villains almost really hard to justify playing. That's just every Emerald deck having a way to just kill them for free. Really, you can just sit and play and then get rid of it. As it stands, it's not. I don't know how sideboards are going to work for this game, if they're going to be a thing. Where in between games, if you do play best 2 out of 3 in competitive games, you get to bring something in. If so, this is a very good card. I'd give it a 3 in that instance there, just for being able to kill something really big and scary that costs a 5 or whatever that you can just put out there ahead of time. But as it stands, maybe not so much, probably a 2. I'm not going to put this on my deck and them just not have anything to kill. So, no, I'm off it. He's got a sword. While it is terrifying, monkeys with swords, I don't really like it. There's other effects in not this color, but different colors that have the ability to grant strength to things, but Ruby seems to be one of the colors that just has really high strength characters already, so giving a little bit more to some of them doesn't really seem that relevant. I'm going to pass on this one here. 1, not unplayable, 1.5, 2 stars, but I'm not about it. Tangle. Well, I'm not going to play a card that gains a life. If I view losing lore as gaining life, they lose 1 life for a full card. While it can swing a race just in the perfect situation, I don't see this card being playable at all. I'm moving on. Pass. The chosen character gains rush this turn. I'd want more of my cards to have rush that I want to be attacking with. Like we saw with Maui. While this is a card that is flexible because it's inkable, I'm not really certain it's going to make the cut too because it's flexible, but I'm not likely to semi-constructed decks. All right, Captain Hook, Ruthless Pirate, 7 cost uninkable, 5/5, rush. So it can attack immediately, like we said with the rush here. I'd rather have my cards be able to rush immediately. Whenever this character is exerted, opposing characters with evasive gain reckless. They can't quest and must challenge, so it kind of works against the Emerald Peter Pan pretty well. A 7 cost uninkable that sometimes does something more than be a worse Maui. I'm not touching this one either. It's getting a 1 star from me. I love Captain Hook, but it's not something that's going to see play or shouldn't really see play. Pass. Not smash. Liafu, Investigator. So 2 cost 2/2. When you play this character, ready the chosen character, they can't quest the rest of the turn. So again, pairing back to the item we were looking at earlier, this card could be very good. It helps mostly protect your characters if you look at it that way. You play this on maybe a Lilo or Maleficent, the 1 cost quest for 2 thing. Those things are often used once and they're dead. They're one-shot effects really if your opponent is interacting in any way. And that's not very good, but it's enough for a 1 cost card. But this thing letting you ready them after they quest for the first time in a turn definitely gives some utility to those things. I'm giving this a 3 because I think it really protects your cards, is what it does more than anything else. And if there happens to be something that has a tap ability or exert ability that we find later that comes out, or maybe like the Amethyst Elsa that can exert other things that they control, being able to use that twice in the turn when you play this is quite strong too. So solid card. Played in a lot of Emerald decks, maybe not the ramp ones, or not Emerald. Ruby decks, not the ramp ones, but some of the more mid-range ones and ones that kind of fight for the ground there with some of the rush cards definitely can help challenge again even. All right, take a bite. Pay 1, banish this item, exert the chosen character. If it's a princess, banish her instead. So very similar to the sword we saw a moment ago. Almost the same cost. It's 3 up front, 1 to use versus the other one just being 4 up front, and that's it. This one can be used on anything to help challenge it. But if it's a princess, it just goes away. And there's more princesses than villains, I believe, or at least playable ones that I've seen. So this one could see play, but again, without sideboarding or knowing that opponent's going to have something that this actually affects, I'm not really too thrilled by it. But it falls in the same category of if those do exist in competitive play, then this will see play. That's no Blizzard. All right, Elsa, Ice Surfer. Well, I love the art and the fact that Elsa is surfing on ice. This isn't really a reason for me to want to go Ruby Amethyst and play Elsa into the Shift Elsa, but it is, I mean, you have to have Anna. The only Annas we've seen right now, there's 2, I believe, and One of them's fine, but it also costs 4, and this doesn't really quest for that much, and challenging more than once could be good, but not enough really willpower in my opinion to get things going. You'll play it in some decks with bigger Elsa that shifts, but just a fine role player, nothing exciting. 2 stars. Alright, moving on. Scar. A Shameless Firebrand. Shift 6. There's a couple of Scars which we haven't seen yet, but we will. 6/6 for 6 shift. Lore 1. When you play this character, ready your characters that cost 3 or less. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So, again, not being able to quest is kind of a boon, but you have to make sure that the cards that you are affecting get to use whatever ability they have, if they have an activated ability, or challenge something to really help control the board. So this reads to me like I'm going to quest with all my cards, and then I'm going to challenge all your cards to kind of put the board at parity. I'm not going to lose tempo on being behind on lore with a card like Abu, but I'm also going to make sure that we trade off, and this is almost the only thing left standing. Or challenge a second time with something with a lot of willpower. So look for this in card index with a lot of willpower to challenge a second time. Maybe some Amethyst decks. I think it's okay. The cards surrounding it for supporting a shift on Scar aren't great. It's going to get 3 stars. Again, I'm skeptical about most things that cost this much and don't have the best support cards, which this doesn't. So maybe not quite a 3-star, but it's okay. Abu, pretty vanilla. It's fine. It's 2 willpower, which is not really great. Giving this a 2 because it's pretty fragile, and I love the art. I love Abu. Who doesn't love Abu? But I'm not really big on this guy. Now let's move on to one of the reasons probably to play Scar in a lot of instances is that you get to do all those challenges and quests, but it's also an 8-cost card that lets you cast Be Prepared for free. But Be Prepared just being a Wrath of God, destroy all creatures kind of thing, destroy all characters, really gives Ruby an identity where it wants to be the kind of color that is not playing a bunch of smaller things, but playing 1 or 2 bigger things and some more mid-range cards along the way to kind of, not be negatively affected by Be Prepared, but also be able to take advantage of the fact that after Be Prepared happens, some of the cards you can play are more impactful than your opponent's smaller cards. Super strong card. Even though it costs 7, it's one of the game-defining cards that's going to get 4 stars. It's a very powerful effect, and most Ruby decks that are, I believe the ones we've seen are Ruby Sapphire, that are more the ramp strategies, we'll be probably playing 4 of these, even though it's an uninkable card. It's just a very powerful effect that the game doesn't really have any other any analogies to, any other card with a similar type of effect. There's some that deal damage, but getting rid of everything regardless of what else is going on, really powerful. And I don't like being on the receiving end of this, but we'll see. Alright, Minnie Mouse, the Olaf adjacent. Stat line, not thrilling. There's no real reason to play minis right now. There's no shift onto mini kind of thing. I'm not about it. It's just pretty medium. I'm giving this a 1-star. I don't really think the 1/3s are really going to make it that don't have other effects. So yeah. Aladdin. So gaining life, how I said losing 1 lore on a spell, the Tangled card, wasn't worth the card, but slapping that ability just on a card that does something else makes that effect way more powerful. In Magic, think the card Kitchen Finks or something like that, where it's a medium effect put onto a medium body, and it actually turns out to be really good because of it. This card, I think, 3 stars on the base, and also the fact that it works with bigger Aladdin, which we'll get to. Certainly, we'll see tons of play. This card's you'll see a lot of this card. Fan the Flames. I was pretty excited about this card until we saw the the same character here, have that effect on play, the 2-cost 2/2. So I don't know why you'd play this over that much. I know it costs 1 versus 2, but if you want that effect, I guess if you want a bunch of that effect, it makes sense. But there's nothing really that I've seen that has a tap ability or exert ability, and really can challenge that much to where I'd want a bunch of these kind of effects. So 2 stars, not great, but fine. All right, Gaston. So similar to Maui, has no ability to quest, but is a pretty big beater. 4/2 for 2. You don't have to challenge if there's nothing to challenge. So kind of just sit there, and granted they could have a 1-mana 2/2 that you do have to attack into if able. But it's okay. It's a role filler. Some decks won't choose to play those cards out later in the game, and it'll just be able to sit there and take down whatever they play. Giving this 2.5 stars, it's okay. Not thrilled to play it, but I could see situations where this, or a metagame where this will come up and you'd want to play it. So it's fine. Pongo, Old Rascal. Yeah, evasive I don't think is that good of an effect for what you're getting here. 2-3 for 4. It does dodge fire the cannons, which is good, but it's not really. It's okay. It's not really good enough, I think. 2 stars to. I mean, if evasive is really that important, sure, but I don't think Ruby's identity is going to be evasive, or really what it wants to be doing. Next here, Rapunzel, letting down her hair. 5/4, quest for 2. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. Of course, being uninkable is a huge boon to it. While on the Aladdin, the ability to make your opponent lose a lore is really important. The higher the cost of the card goes up, the less important effects like this is really. And there's no really other benefit we've seen for playing Rapunzel, so I'm giving this one less than the Aladdin got. 2.5, 3 stars in there. It could be okay, but it's really not. Not being inkable is a huge knock against it, and it's fine. I mean, if there's limited again, this probably is pretty good there, but there's just too many better options, I think, for constructed. Moving along here, a couple of cards there. Sergeant Tibbs getting 3 stars, 1-mana 2/2, probably see play in most decks. Donald Duck, there are better options. I'm not playing this card. 1.5, 2 stars. It's okay. No one's really touching these things in constructed unless they have something to shift onto, like Genie. But then we're gonna move to one of the better cards, I think, in the game, Aladdin, Heroic Outlaw. So this is the reason to play the 3-cost Aladdin mostly, and there's other Aladdins. There's a steel one and a emerald one, which also would pair with Ruby here, because this Aladdin's one of the best cards in the game, I would say. Shift 5, so cost 5, and you can immediately attack with it because shift on top of the thing that you're playing it, which as long as it can attack, you can attack with it. Whenever this character banishes another character, only on your turn, so if it's attacked, you don't get the trigger. You gain 2 lore, and each opponent loses 2 lore. So instead of having to quest, like most cards do, to gain lore, this just gets to kill your opponent's things. And not only do you gain the lore for killing your opponent's things, which is good on tempo and helping control the board, they also lose 2 lore. So you kind of gain life and deal them a bunch of damage and kill their character for this. This one's getting a 4 stars. It's one of the reasons to be Ruby, and I think most Ruby decks are going to want to play at least the 3-cost Aladdin into this. If they're playing Emerald or Steel, maybe play one of the other Aladdins that way, but I don't know if it's necessary. But this is also inkable for whatever reason. Most of the cards we've seen like this are not inkable, but this one is. So yeah, 4, maybe even 4.5, up there with Stitch, being some of the best cards you can play. Really overall solid card, and one of the best finishers we've seen too. Probably the best. Alright, Scar. Now I said that Scar did not have very good support cards. That's what I mean. 5/3 for 4. Not bad, but not good. 2 stars. You'd play it with Scar, but don't touch it otherwise. Goofy. So much like Pongo, 1 more mana than Pongo, but +1/+1 in stats. Same amount of lore. Evasive characters, fine, not great. Again, we can basically make these two the same exact thing. This costs 1 more. This has 1 more strength. Same amount of evasive. And they're all kind of boring, and I'm giving them all 2 stars because I don't think that's what Ruby's about. I think it's more about Aladdin and the next couple cards we'll see than it is this type of thing. Just okay. Not great. Alright, now we get to some heavy hitters. Probably the debut card for the game. Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor. Evasive, 8 cost, inkable. 4 lore. That's quite a bit of lore to gain. Now, I think 8 is probably too much for most fair decks or normal decks that play 1 card a turn in their ink. Don't have many ways to access to card draw, anything like that. But in some of the Sapphire Ruby decks, which I think one of the more popular and more face-up kind of decks that you can see just because by reading some cards, if you've experience with card games, is a Ruby Sapphire ramp deck. Mickey Mouse will probably be in some number of those. I put like 3 in a lot of the decks that I've played because even though I use inkable, I don't want to draw it because it costs 8. It's a ton of mana. And yeah, being able to quest and get 4 lore off, it's pretty huge. It is really hard to kill unless we use an action of some kind to get rid of it. And yeah, it can end the game quick. Mickey's getting 3 stars. I don't know how viable the 8 cost and above cards are. They don't have shift or anything like that, but if they are viable, this is probably the best one. Similarly with Maleficent, I don't know if 8's very viable. 9 seems like a lot more. Outside of Sapphire, Ruby, I'm not playing this card. Probably either of these cards, but with the ramp decks, there is a really good tension point of, do they play into Be Prepared, the destroy all, banish all characters, by holding back some cards to then make sure they don't get blown out card advantage wise by a destroy all effect, or do they play slower to the board where you can kind of keep pace and check them, and then you get to play your 9 drop, which kills something and is a big threat. That's a pretty big tension point, and something I think that we're going to see a lot of. These two, along with the Be Prepared, are going to be, I think, in the Sapphire Ruby ramp decks as a kind of, staple for the format in the early time, at least, until we get another set, and there's probably something that costs 7 or 6 that's a little bit better, but definitely strong couple cards there. One I haven't been able to explore fully, but I certainly can see the potential of, and is probably the only reason I've seen to have the ability to ready itself a second time and have more effects is Mulan. Mulan, during your turn, when this character banishes another character in challenge, your other characters get +1 lower this turn. So if you have a board full of characters and you get to kill something with this, and then ready it, and then kill something again, they've all gotten +2 lore for the turn, which, say you have three things down and they have 1 lore to begin with, that's just 9 lore by itself. And you've killed 2 things. This card can certainly take over in a game and win it by itself with some small units there. I've seen this mostly in Emerald Ruby because of all the high lore characters. Some of them have wards, some of them are hard to kill or very good at controlling the board or exerting things, even in Amethyst Ruby. Certainly a powerful card and a build around. I expect to see a lot of this card in the early game, early phases of the game, I should say. Talking a lot. 3.5 stars, 3 and maybe even 4. In the right decks, it's definitely a 4. It's definitely very powerful. All right, next up, a little bit of repeat, but Dragonfire is the last card here for Ruby. Pretty simple, non-inkable, otherwise it'd probably be a 4 in every single Ruby deck. Banish a character. Strong, it is necessary. I'm glad it's not a song, because that'd be very, very powerful too. The tempo of being able to play my 5-drop and then play theirs and then just kill whatever. It's a strong card. It'll see a lot of play, but I think it's a little bit worse than some of the other 5-cost cards that you can play as actions, but certainly a powerful one, and it'll see quite a bit of play. 3 stars. But yeah, that's it for Ruby. A lot of really good powerhouses. Some of them you see still in front of you here, and a lot of good role players. But Aladdin, I think, is going to be the one that we talk about for months to come, because it's just an incredible effect that allows for a lot of swings there and can end games quickly. But yeah, thanks again. See you all for the last couple colors to go through here on our adventure across all the cards in Disney Lorcana. Till then, see you next time.